Welcome back to part number two of our SVG and animation stuff. I hope you had a chance to get the DVD, or sorry, the square box bouncing around like a DVD logo. Okay, so I know what you might be saying is like, wow, this would be kind of cool if it was actually a DVD logo. Okay, well, how on earth would you do this? Okay, well, if you look very carefully at the DVD logo, yeah, actually, it could be emulated using SVG graphics, but you know what? That is going to be a real pain because there's a lot of polygons that need to be filled and so on. Now, if you remember, I got you to do an exercise similar to this a couple of weeks ago where I asked you to send an alien back and forth from one edge of the screen to the other. Okay, and I told you, well, for the alien, just pretend that it had, say, a green oval with a couple of rectangular eyes. Okay. Um, what I want to do this time is I'm going to show you how to maybe make your life a little bit easier for doing some animations on the screens if you wanted to do this type of thing. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Let me head over to, say, this one right here, and let's take a look for the word alien, because you know that somebody has probably already done something like this in SVG. All right, so that's the secret is you need to be able to find an alien SVG file. Okay, so let's take a look. Now, there's a few different things. This one right here, maybe. Oh, okay. Perhaps this one right here. That one looks all right. Now, oh, perfect, because that is an smileygreenalien.svg, and it's on Wikipedia, so this looks like it's all right. All right, now, the thing about SVG files, SVG is actually a format that is allowed on the internet. It goes along with with PNG and JPEGs, but what it is, it's scalable vector format. Okay, what I'm going to do is, since I found this file, I'm going to say, let's save this file. And let's put it into not robot arm. I'll be back to that one a little bit later. Okay. Oh, now I'm completely lost. Okay, now I know where I am. Here, let's go into documents and find my animation file. Here we go. So here's a smiley green alien. Let's save it right there. Okay, so that's been downloaded. Now let me click on this thing and take a look what it looks like. Ooh, this looks quite complex, but what it's got is it has absolutely everything. You can see there's ellipses and paths and circles and all kinds of things that people have put into this green smiley face alien. Okay, well, that's fine, but how on earth can I make use of this thing? Okay, um, Radial Giant, just let me check one thing. Yeah, this is perfectly fine. Okay, there's a couple of tricks how you can go about this thing. Okay, first of all, can you use these files directly inside your application? And the answer is yes, you can, but it takes a little bit of processing in order to use it. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I found that this was the best thing. Let me go over to my JavaScript file, and I'm going to have this variable here at the top. So we'll say let alien be equal to the following thing. And I'm going to use a backtick, and I'm going to put a bunch of stuff inside here. Well, what can go in here? Well, you can put all kinds of stuff like rectangles with CXs and CYs, etc., etc., etc. And of course, can I take the entire thing? Well, you can take the entire thing. You can copy and paste the entire file, but it's not going to work out that well for you because there's a bunch of things that will be hiding in here that'll prevent you from moving things around. And usually what I find the best thing to do is, okay, you see there's this SVG tag. Where's the end of the SVG tag? It actually finishes right here. And then there's a bunch of stuff called metadata. Now, I'll be honest, I have not actually tried this before. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start copying from the metadata all the way down. So in other words, I'm taking absolutely everything except for the SVG tag. Okay, so literally I'm just removing the SVG tag, and I'm going to paste this into this big massive file, or this big massive string. And of course what it is, this is just one big long string. Okay, so it's one huge string, but it describes the alien. Okay, so now what we're going to do is at this point right here where I made my SVG rectangle, I'm going to make something completely different. I'm going to make something called an SVG group. And what a group is a whole bunch of items like rectangles, circles, polygons, etc. And of course, if you look at these, that's exactly what these things are. It's a whole bunch of individual pieces. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this.elt, and I'm going to call a function called SVG. And what SVG does is SVG will replace whatever's inside the group, which by the way is nothing, with whatever actual string contents is right here. Okay. Okay, so what do you think? Is that going to be enough for us to see? Well, let's save this and go back over and take a look at my window now. And you can see that, hey, that's actually at least appeared. Okay, unfortunately, some of these SVGs do not play very well with my little animation. So that one's a bit of a trouble. Okay, so that's a bit unfortunate, but at least we did see it. So the problem is that somebody has gone through. There are certain parts of SVG that are basically hard coded in place, and I just can't make things move. All right, well, in that case, let's see if we can make something maybe a little bit easier. So what if we look for a DVD logo SVG? Okay, somebody must have this one, do they? And yeah, look at this. Here's the DVD logo.svg, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save this link, and I'm going to throw it in here as DVD logo. Okay, perfect. So now that's out of the way. Now let's go back over to here. Well, I'm not interested in this big, long, complicated looking alien. It was likely this metadata that caused me all kinds of trouble. But anyway, let me erase all of this code for the alien. Okay, here. All right, and let me open up the DVD logo and see if this is any better. Okay, so once again, I've got, unfortunately, this has not done a very good job. Okay, title, and we've got ourselves a path. Okay, well, unfortunately, this is just quite large, but you know what? Let's give it a try. Let's take just the word path, because I think this might be the actual DVD logo itself. So it's got a bunch of polygons, and I'll copy it over to here. So it's just one big, long, super wide thing. All right, and let me just press enter. And now my alien is really just a path. I should probably change this to the word logo, but I'll just use this variable alien. And let's see whether or not this one played along a little bit better with the rest of my code. Oh, and hey, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, and you'll see that the thing does bounce around. Again, it's a little bit shaky because of the screen capturing, but at least things are moving. What if you say, no, that's way too big? Well, no problem. You come in here, and there's an extra element or an extra thing that you can do inside the constructor. You can always say the size. So if you wanted to try, you could say make it 40 pixels in size, and now you'll see you get exactly the same thing, but of course it's really little, tiny. Okay, now that on its own is not too bad. So the only thing left to deal with, of course, is how on earth do you change the color? Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry about this one. If you really get stuck and you really want to try it, it is possible. Well, you know what? Give me a minute and I will show you something. I just have to go and search, but I won't bug you while I go and actually do the search. So I'll cut this part. I'll just pause the video first, then I'll come back. So give me a sec. Okay, sorry about that. I ended up not hitting pause. I ended up hitting stop, so I'll have to join the two pieces together, but that's fine. I don't think you'll notice any difference. Okay, I did a bit of digging back at what I had put together as the example and what I was going to put into D2L in the first place, and I found out that I must have grabbed a different DVD logo file because it was quite a bit different. And unfortunately, this particular DVD logo file is missing something, but it's not that difficult for us to put back in. First of all, let me make this back to 100. Okay, you see this thing right here? This thing that I called Alien, which is really a DVD logo, has got something in here called a path, and that happens to be a bunch of XY coordinates and describing this shape. And there's a second path right here, which is once again something else. Well, if you remember, the DVD logo's got sort of an upper part and a lower part. I believe that the the first part is actually the upper part. Okay, but here's what I'm going to do. Notice that these things are just like XML type elements. So this is a path. It's XML or HTML, and just like any other thing, I can go and I can add any IDs to it. And the reason why I add IDs to it is so that I can pick them out a little bit later. So see what I've done here is I've created this extra ID called myPath, which is on one of the paths inside the alien shape, which is really a DVD logo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to where the logo gets bounced to the other direction. And here's what I'm going to do. So let me make a variable called p, and I'm going to say this.elt find one hashtag my path. Okay, and what this is going to do is this is going to search through the element, which is an SVG element, which has a bunch of parts into it. It's going to look for something called my path. Okay, now assuming that I find it, and hopefully I've spelt everything correctly, I'm now going to go to P and I'm going to ask to change its CSS. Now, what part of this would I change? Well, I would probably set up maybe something like this. Okay, so I'm going to set the fill of the element P, which happens to be one of the paths, to be filled to, well, a different color. And I'm hoping that you've been through CR 1501 now, and you would recognize that FF0000 is actually the color red. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at my output window. Okay, and let's load it up here, and you'll see everything starts off in black, and I hope when it hits the edge, okay, perfect. You'll see that the DVD logo part is now turned to red. Now, of course, you'll notice that there's two more parts which never got changed. First of all, there was the part with the actual disc itself. There's also the trademark. Okay, well, like anything else, if you go through and look very carefully at all of these things, I have a feeling that you'll probably find, you see, there's something here called a polygon. I suppose there's no reason why you couldn't do this. You could probably also come in here. Oh, here's another polygon, and guess what? Those are the three pieces that are here, and if you wanted to, you could easily add IDs to each of these things and you could fill them all out. There's probably other techniques that you could use as well. For example, you could probably ask for all of the elements inside here, so instead of find one, maybe find all or find many, and you could probably color each of those. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a suggestion that you go off and actually try this now. So modify your code, and what I would say that you do is rather than having just one hard-coded value, I would suggest that you put in about maybe 5 or 6 different colors, and every time that your logo bounces into the corner, one of the walls, I mean the corner is the ultimate goal of this, but every time it bounces against one of the walls, you could pick one of the colors at random and change to it. Okay, so no need to submit any of this. But I've got one final animation thing that I'm going to talk about here in the next video. So go off and give this a try. And if you don't get the randomization, it isn't a big deal. But try this. So at least you've had a chance to see something once. Come back and take a look at the next video because it's got something a little bit entertaining for you. Okay, so see you in the next video.